Here it is. It's flying, flying, flying.
Saratov is on fire. Ukrainian drones have destroyed the oil refinery to dust. Donbas is returning to Ukraine. The AFU have liberated 7 settlements. The enemy is retreating. Rubicon is in shreds. A secret Russian unit has been wiped off the face of the earth. Russia is provoking NATO. Its fighter jets are already over Dresden and above Poland. Europe? In collapse. Unknown hackers have shut down the largest airports. Putin is handing out stolen Ukrainian lands as a treat for Russian soldier killers. Russia is losing its elite. The mysterious death of the 20th top manager already. Hello, my name is Yulia Kokan. And right now the main news. But first, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so we don't lose touch with you on YouTube. Our forces struck several Russian strategic sites on the night of September 20th. This was confirmed by the Ukrainian General Staff. We are talking about oil refineries in the Saratov and Samara regions, and the Samara LVDS. Take a look at these spectacular shots from Saratov. There it goes, flying, flying, flying.
In short, it hit right on target. The flare is burning. It's still night, you can't see much. Everyone there is on pins and needles.
The capacity of this refinery is over 7 million tons of oil per year. That's 2.5% of the total volume in Russia. And here's the refinery in the Samara region, one of the largest in Russia, producing over 8.8 million tons of oil annually. So the best sanctions against Russia are when Ukrainian drones hit their oil refineries? Like if you agree? Ukrainian defense forces have regained control over 7 settlements in the Donetsk region. During the operation in the Dobropilya direction, the armed forces of Ukraine managed to advance 7 kilometers deep into the occupiers' defenses. This was reported by the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky.
The advance of our troops into the enemy's defenses ranges from 3 to 7 kilometers. Control has been restored in 7 settlements. 9 enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups have been cleared out. Commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky.
Also, remember the pipe the Russians used to get into Kupiansk? Our forces flooded it. The Russians were amassing forces and tried to enter the city through the gas pipeline. But now that won't be possible anymore. Additionally, Ukraine's defense forces used FPV strike drones to attack the location of the secret Russian unit Rubicon in the occupied territory. They also successfully destroyed a crossing, a warehouse, and enemy tanks at one of the key sections of the front. And in occupied Melitopol, a car used by Putin's soldiers was set on fire. More details about the situation at the front are coming up in the report.
Generators, damn it, dugouts, wagons, motorcycles. Excellent.
The occupiers allegedly filmed this video in the southern Slobozhansky direction. Despite suffering heavy losses, the Russians still tried to storm the positions of our units near the settlements of Hliboka and Vovchansk as many as 15 times, all without success.
There, our dedicated forces are actively defending, diligently carrying out crucial counterattacks, and the overall situation on the battlefield is changing very dynamically and rapidly.
Meanwhile, in the Pokrovsk direction, our defenders stopped as many as 87 assault and offensive actions by the aggressor in the area of the settlements of Shakova, Vladimirovka, Orekova, Dakhnaya, and others.
in the very
Kramatorsk direction, at least 4 clashes were recorded. The invader attacked in the area of the settlements of Chasiv Yar, Stupokki, Oleksandra, Shultine, and Bila Hora. The armed forces of Ukraine, in turn, with units of the 5th Assault Brigade, carried out a precise, well-coordinated operation to detect and neutralize enemy artillery pieces. The soldiers posted the corresponding videos online. And here are shots of our drones hunting down enemy personnel. In the video published by the National Guard of Ukraine, you can see their special brigade in action. The enemy finds no rest from the armed forces of Ukraine, neither on land nor on water. Over the past day, the occupiers have lost a considerable number of their boats as well. And here, yet another enemy ammunition depot goes up in the sky. Despite the enemy's electronic warfare systems, Ukrainian drones hit their targets precisely. This week, Putin has also lost several more of his generals. After all, thanks to the Special Operations Forces, they have all gone to attend Kobzon's concert. Our Special Operations Forces managed to strike the logistics hub of the 810th Separate Marine Brigade of Russia in the Kursk region. The strike hit precisely at the occupiers' storage base, ammunition depots, as well as the concealed location of the brigade's weapons and military equipment. But despite all of Russia's losses at the front and the ongoing strikes on their rear, the Kremlin does not stop its attempts to terrorize peaceful Ukrainian cities. Thus, the Russian Federation plans to increase missile and drone strikes to up to 1,000 attacks per day by the end of the year. This was stated by the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, Rustem Umerov. According to him, after dictator Putin's meeting in Alaska with American President Donald Trump, the attacks on Ukraine only intensified. We,
of course, need more air defense systems. We need funding for interceptor drones. Russia is trying to increase the number of attacks to 1,000 per day. Therefore, by the end of the year, I think they will expand them. This indicates that Russia has no serious intention of ending this war.
On the contrary, analysts assert that Putin is only preparing to escalate the terror. For example, Russia is now launching Shaheds from a site just 35 kilometers away. From the border with Ukraine, satellite images proving this have been published by Western military observers. Objects resembling launchers located in the Bryansk region have 4 concealed storage zones and are equipped with 2 launch sites with catapults. This means that Ukraine's Flamingo missiles will have plenty of work to do. Fortunately, the number of these latest types of weapons produced by the Ukrainian defense industry is growing every day. So, Ukraine is already producing at least 50 missiles per month. Let me remind you that not long ago this number was only 30 units, and by the end of the year, manufacturers promised to reach a production rate of 7 missiles per day. And here is another breakthrough. This time it's from the main intelligence directorate and already deep behind enemy lines. GUR fighters shot up an enemy multipurpose tractor on the Tendrivska Spit. As a result of a nighttime raid, our fighters managed to set up a minefield on the Spit. Later, a multi-purpose tractor belonging to the Russian occupiers fell into this trap. Russian army soldiers had previously used it to transport personnel, weapons, and supplies to enemy positions. And now, thanks to the special operation by the GUR, they won't be able to anymore. And finally, one more operation, without exaggeration. A unique operation. An Azovstal defender spent 3 years in captivity with a bullet in his heart. And now, after returning home, he was able to undergo a highly complex surgery.
It was lodged in the heart of our guy who spent 3 years in captivity. He defended Azovstal together with the Azov fighters.
The soldier's heart wound was only discovered when, upon returning from captivity, he underwent a full medical examination, after which the bullet was successfully removed.
Fortunately, it didn't damage anything, and now we've removed it. The guy was lucky.
Explosions at the oil refinery, destroyed equipment and enemy forces, a damaged oil pipeline that funds Putin's war. The terror of the occupiers, Robert Brody Madyar, the chief drone operator of the Ukrainian army, has been leading the UAV forces of the armed forces of Ukraine for 100 days now. We will break down the boldest and most effective operations during this period and calculate the damage that the many thousand-strong flock of Madyar's birds has inflicted on the army and military infrastructure of the aggressor country.
Almost 77,000 Russian targets have been hit. 18,500 occupiers have been eliminated in Russia, fuel crises, Hungary is furious. And all these are the results achieved in just 100 days of Robert Brody Madyar serving as the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces.
All the efforts of the SBS Group Command are focused on building up the capabilities of the SBS branch of the military, which had been squandered over the previous year. Regardless of the reasons, that's a fact. SBS is becoming a force that directly influences the front line.
Russian oil refineries have certainly felt this impact especially acutely and significantly. In August alone, Unmanned Systems Forces attacked Russian oil refineries 17 times. Almost a quarter of the enemy's production capacity was put out of commission. Again, we're only talking about August. In September, the SBS did not stop either. As a result, Russia is experiencing a fuel crisis. There is no gasoline at many gas stations, both in Russia and in the temporarily occupied territories.
Driving out with such a significant amount of money would only, in the long run, ultimately harm yourself and potentially others. That's why it's not possible.
Online, the strikes by Unmanned Systems Forces are already being called Madyar sanctions. The latter affected not only Russia but also the Kremlin's loyal servants, particularly Hungary, because friendship with Russia is a bad idea. The Druzhba oil pipeline was hit multiple times, and each time, oil pumping was halted. The Hungarian authorities were furious, threatened Ukraine, and even banned Madyar himself from entering the country. But Brody didn't seem particularly upset.
There are plenty of real Magyars in Hungary, and someday you'll leave them to them. And as for restricting Schengen, you're biting off more than you can chew. You have a strange sense of humor. And your special agents aren't even in the top 10, so get in line.
And these are only the results that can be seen with the naked eye. There's also the routine work, eliminating occupiers and their equipment. By the way, there have been impressive successes here as well. Just think about shooting down the expensive Russian drone Orion. A reconnaissance drone was shot down for the first time since the start of the full-scale war. The cost of this drone exceeds $5 million. According to Madyar's data, the effectiveness of Unmanned Systems Forces has increased by 71% compared to last year. And it's safe to say this is only the beginning. There will be even more strikes. Russia should get used to fuel shortages in Ingria, bury its friendships, and ordinary occupiers should remember the drones. They are being watched everywhere.
I never cease to admire the courage and heroism of Ukrainian soldiers. They hold the front and stand against a huge horde that vastly outnumbers them. That's why I urge everyone to support the armed forces of Ukraine. And if you can't do that, write them words of support in the comments. I know they're watching us. In Lviv, a real maritime giant was presented at the exhibition, the TOLOKA underwater drone. And it's something else. It's 12 meters long, has a range of up to 2,000 kilometers, and a payload capacity of 5 tons. But that's not all. The exhibition showcased an arsenal of innovations, various drones, a ground control station, military transports, and even innovative drones. And now about missiles. Ukraine is already producing 50 Flamingo missiles every month. Production of Polynitsia is increasing, and the Flamingo developers will also be making drones and interceptors. More about the latest developments of the Ukrainian defense industry in the following report.
A new level and scale, Ukraine is ramping up the production of cruise missiles. The developers of the Ukrainian Flamingo missile stated that the company produces 50 missiles per month and plans to reach a daily output of 7 missiles by the end of the year. The company claims that scaling up is made possible by its own wing manufacturing technology, which shortens the production cycle. Let us recall that the Ukrainian missile can fly up to 3,000 kilometers and carry a ton of explosives. In August, the Flamingo struck Russian targets in temporarily occupied Crimea. Early in the morning, 3 missiles were launched from the Ukrainian coast. The strike hit a base of Russian border guards, which is overseen by the Federal Security Service of the aggressor country. Additionally, the manufacturers of the Flamingo have announced the development of their own ballistic missiles, the FP7 and FP9, as well as air defense systems. Thanks to private companies, Ukraine will be able to create defense industry innovations and effectively implement them on the battlefield.
It was precisely during the years of the full-scale invasion that Ukraine's defense industry made a revolutionary breakthrough in the production of Ukrainian ballistic missiles. First and foremost, this refers to the modernized version of the Neptune. The anti-ship version of the Neptune was upgraded to strike land targets. And at the moment, as a result of improved technical and tactical characteristics, according to the developer's assessment, Neptune's strike range is up to 1,000 kilometers. In addition, the Ukrainian Defense Forces are armed with the already mentioned, but also the operational tactical complex Sapsan, with a strike range of up to 500 kilometers. Plus, during the years of war, the Ukrainian Defense Forces have demonstrated a unique ability to modernize even Soviet-era weapon systems. This was seen with the S-200 surface-to-air missile system.
Also, one of the most important developments has been missile drones, such as Polyanitsia, Peklo, Ruta, and Bars.
During the period of the large-scale invasion, Ukraine's defense industry has evolved in terms of producing its own strike weapons. And accordingly, let's also recall the strike drones. Here, according to the KLG administration, which is an official recognition of Ukraine's achievements, Ukraine holds leading positions in the world.
The armed forces of Ukraine are successfully striking Russian military targets with drone systems targeting oil refineries. Drone attacks have disabled up to 17% of Russia's oil refining capacity. Ukraine is also actively working on the production of interceptor drones. The Minister of Defense stated that Kyiv will soon reach the capacity to deploy at least 1,000 of these UAVs per day to defend against Russian attacks.
Ukraine currently holds a leading position in the production of interceptor drones. This is Ukrainian science for understanding the situation during the latest provocation by the Russian Federation, specifically the violation of Polish airspace to neutralize German decoy drones costing $10,000 each. NATO countries' air defense systems used missiles costing $1.5 million each. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian side is currently scaling up the so-called tactic of swarm drones, specifically the use of interceptor drones.
Ukraine is also developing a new air defense system of the air-to-air class capable of covering large areas. All this means that Ukrainian developers have demonstrated the ability to create high-precision weapons capable of destroying important enemy military targets deep behind the front lines.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Reading the comments under previous episodes, I see that many of you are watching us from Kazakhstan, Moldova, Europe, and even the USA. We Ukrainians are very grateful for your support and proud to have such reasonable viewers. Let us know in the comments under this episode as well which country you're watching us from and whether people there support our fight against the empire of evil. I always enjoy reading your comments. And now let's move on to the most interesting part. Russia has once again violated NATO airspace, this time sending 3 MiG-31 fighter jets to fly over Estonia. This was reported by Estonia's national broadcaster, citing the press service of the General Staff of the Estonian Defense Forces. The publication Politika writes that Russia used modernized MiGs equipped to carry the hypersonic Kinzhal missile. The aircraft were heading toward Tallinn and Italian F-35s were scrambled to intercept them. In total, the Russian fighter jets were in NATO airspace for 12 minutes. The Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned the Russian chargé d'affaires, and the government requested urgent consultations. The Swedish military released what is believed to be a photo of Russian MiG-31s that violated Estonian airspace yesterday. They claim that the pictures were taken over the Baltic Sea after the fighter jets had already left the country. At the same time, the Pentagon considers the incursion of Russian aircraft into Estonian airspace to be deliberate, since the Russian MiGs were in Estonian airspace for more than 12 minutes. Moreover, the aircraft had no flight plans, their transponders were turned off, and they did not communicate with air traffic control. This is confirmed by data from the Ministry of Defense. The incursion of Russian MiG-31K into Estonia also drew a response from US President Donald Trump. But, as usual, in his own style, listen for yourself.
I don't like it when things like this happen. It could lead to serious problems. I'll be informed about it.
And that's not all. Last night, the Kremlin staged another provocation. 2 Russian aircraft flew over the Petro-Baltic oil and gas platform in Poland's territorial waters. Polish border guards did not specify exactly what type of aircraft they were. This year, Russia has already violated Estonian airspace 4 times. This was the first time Kremlin military aircraft entered Polish airspace. But judging by the reaction, Russia is unlikely to stop there and will continue to test the waters. The reaction of the West? A collapse at European airports, aviation hubs have come under a serious cyber attack. According to Bilet, a large-scale disruption occurred at several airports in Europe due to a cyber attack on one of the external service providers. The publication reports that airport systems faced restricted access, which led to significant queues, flight delays, and cancellations. In Berlin, even though the airport was not a direct target of the attack, passenger check-in and boarding were carried out manually. A similar situation was observed in Brussels and London.
London's Heathrow Airport also reported issues, describing them as a technical failure. Meanwhile, the service provider whose systems are used at many European air hubs is trying to restore operations. Airport authorities are urging travelers to check the status of their flights before heading out and to be patient. According to reports from Brussels, until a solution is found, people should be prepared for delays and flight cancellations.
I wonder who is behind such a large-scale cyber attack. Share your guesses in the comments. It'll be interesting to read them. The Telegram channel Vertical reports that right now Kadyrov is allegedly dying. Is it true or fake? Time will tell. For his part, the head of Chechnya, Kadyrov, commented on his health and said that he can easily do 50 push-ups. All the details about the events in Chechnya are coming up in the report.
There have long been rumors about the health of Chechnya's leader, Ramzan Kadyrov, and to be honest, he really does look different from time to time. And now there's a new episode. Kadyrov himself claims that he does push-ups. Yes, that's right. Not only is he alive and well, but he's also working out, just like before. But the joy over the Chechen leader's athletic activity didn't last long. A new report has appeared. The publication Vertical wrote that Kadyrov is dying. Quite a striking contrast, wouldn't you agree? Just yesterday he was doing energetic exercises, and today push-ups are clearly out of the question.
We all see it. Not just me, but all of us can see what condition he's in, how he moves, how he talks. It's obvious that his problems aren't limited to just one area. He has a whole host of issues with his pancreas, because in the latest videos he literally looks like a zombie.
Actually, this story has been going on for more than a year. At different times, there have been claims that the head of Chechnya has serious illnesses. At the same time, Kadyrov himself regularly posts videos where he attends various events, spends time with his family, and of course denies all the rumors about his health.
I keep hearing more and more gossip about my illness. Supposedly I'm dying. That I don't have much time left. First of all, illness and death are the path of every person. No one who is alive has avoided this road. If I am destined to live 50, 60 or 70 years, I will live them as prescribed, and no one will take away a single day.
Journalists from Novaya Gazeta Europe, citing people close to the Chechen branch of the FSB, claim that Kadyrov has serious kidney problems and is allegedly undergoing regular dialysis. They even talk about a nephrostomy, which is a tube used to drain urine that is inserted in cases of severe kidney failure. At the same time, according to the same sources, the head of Chechnya ignored doctors' orders and did not always follow their recommendations.
He uses a urine collection bag and has practically stopped governing Chechnya. 6 years ago, he was diagnosed with pancreatic necrosis, and the disease keeps flaring up. In February, he suffered another crisis, after which doctors installed a special drainage device for him. As a result, he has largely withdrawn from running the republic. Most current affairs are now handled by Prime Minister Magomed Daudov.
By the way, after he was reportedly diagnosed with pancreatic necrosis in 2019, a very serious illness, this spring, the media wrote that Kadyrov developed acute respiratory failure following an overdose of the tranquilizer Dormicum. Officially, of course, this information has not been confirmed.
Time, yes. That's how it is, yes. It's not easy, yes. I've been thinking for a long time, yes. Should I say it or not? Announce it or not? Well.
Amidst all these discussions, his public appearances have become a particular focus of attention. Every video is analyzed literally frame by frame. The complexion, the walk, the manner of speaking, everything becomes a reason for new theories about his illness.
Ramzan Kadyrov was filmed at a school assembly on September 1st. This video was published by the Telegram channel VCHK OGPU. In it, the head of Chechnya once again looks unwell. A source from the channel noted that Kadyrov could hardly walk. He constantly needed assistance.
Kadyrov himself responds in his own style. In August, he declared, "I am healthy," and repeated it so that his enemies would know. In September, he once again emphasized, "There are no problems and all the rumors are, quote, slander and disinformation." And now he added, "If you don't believe me, here you go, push-ups again." But if you put it all together, the picture turns out to be contradictory. On the one hand, there are official statements and displays of physical fitness. On the other hand, there are persistent rumors that have remained in the spotlight for years, and numerous sources insist that Kadyrov's health is seriously compromised.
Now that's news. Just listen to this. Former Odessa City Council Deputy Igor Dmytriyev, who sided with Russia in 2014, stated in an interview with Z blogger Pavel Ivanov that most Russian soldiers are inadequate. The marginalized and the Russian authorities are afraid of their return from the front, so they are making plans to send them somewhere, like to large-scale construction projects in Siberia. Footage from the interview was published on his Telegram channel by blogger and journalist Denis Kazansky.
It's one thing how these people are portrayed in the media, and another thing entirely, is that among them there are a truly huge number of social outcasts, criminal elements who will inevitably return home to their communities. And this will be a shock for the citizens.
I'm sure this won't be the last unpleasant truth we'll have to voice. An awakening is bound to come. The land carrot, or more accurately, Putin's bait. Veterans of the so-called special military operation are now being given land plots on the occupied territories. And no, these aren't just some wastelands in the middle of nowhere. In Mariupol, a cadastral service has been operating for a month already, diligently recording abandoned plots in the most desirable areas, the Central and Primorsky districts. As a proof, take a look at these photos. This is reported by the Ukrainian Center for the Study of Occupation. The scheme couldn't be simpler. They declare the land of evacuated Mariupol residents as abandoned. But how else if the owners fled from the Russian world? Next, they nationalize it. In other words, they seize it, and then generously hand it out to the so-called heroes of the special military operation, like candy for their bloody deeds. This is the logic of Putin's strategists, to lure veterans with this land as a gift, in order to relocate them from the Russian hinterland to the occupied territories and turn them into a strike force against the locals. So that Ukrainians either leave or dissolve into the Russian world, becoming part of a vast marginalized mass. Pragmatists, all in the Russian style. In short, this isn't a reward, it's outright colonization disguised as one. Thank you for your service. In Russia, the CEO of a company owned by Rosatom was found dead on the anniversary. Alexander Tayunin is already the 20th Russian top manager to die under mysterious circumstances since the start of the war against Ukraine. The body was found near a car not far from a forest, close to the village of Kokoshkino. A hunting rifle was lying nearby. Russian investigators are considering the theory of yet another suicide. Supposedly, in his suicide note, Tayunin wrote about his years-long struggle with depression. It seems that being a top manager in Russia is becoming increasingly risky. You have to admit there are just too many accidental deaths. Do you believe this was a suicide, or do you think it was actually someone's deliberate work? Write your thoughts in the comments. How do you like our news? Let us know what we should change to become better. We will definitely take your feedback into account. In the meantime, give this video a like to support what we do. And be sure to subscribe to our channel, Ukraine Today, so you don't miss future episodes. See you soon.